welcome to another episode of Prescription for Life. My name is Linda Golick. I'm the Health and Wellbeing Consultant, and I am so happy to be joined today by Ashley Jones.
Hi,
Ashley.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm happy to be here.
Yay.
Yeah.
So Ashley is our director at the foundation, our Bellin Health Foundation.
That's right.
And she does so many amazing things, both personally and professionally. So I thought it was just that you were just the perfect person to bring in for this topic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So whenever I can talk people into it, you know. So this particular topic, it is called Permission to Coexist. Mm-hmm. It is about work-life integration and what that can look like for people, and just helping people, you know, kind of do that for themselves. Sure. So first of all, let's get to know you a little bit. So the audience gets to know you a little bit. Perfect. Tell us, what do you do at Bellin? How did you end up here? All those fun things.
Yeah. So, okay, quite the story. I'm actually from Green Bay, so born and raised in Green Bay. Went to UW Green Bay, graduated, and then moved down to Florida for a little while to get my master's degree. 8 years went by, met my husband, and the peak of COVID hit. And right then is when we found out we were having our firstborn. So I wanted to hightail it back to Green Bay because we have family here, or I have family here, and I just know we had a good support system, and I think that's what's important, right? Especially during a scary time like COVID. But I was very picky about, I want to come back and work for a place that I know has a lot of heart in it. And, you know, that position at the foundation was on its last day of being open. It just sort of was kismet in all of it, right? And got to get in the door there, which was a huge blessing for me. So I've been here about 5 years now. So as you mentioned, I'm the director. We're a pretty small team. We have 8 of us there, but we're, you know, the fundraising arm of the Amplify Health by Bellin region. So we do fundraising with donors. We do grant writing, the volunteers for the health system. And so my particular role, I oversee grants, and I oversee like donor stewardship, foundation operations, and then like our communications and marketing pieces with donors. So lots of different areas that we're looking at. And then we have, of course, our folks like Molly who do, you know, talk with our major donors and do a lot of like out in the community work. So very valuable, very, you know, rewarding to be in this space where people want to give back to their community and the caregivers that, you know, save their lives in some cases. But it's all, you know, very much a privilege to be able to work in this role that I'm in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you are a mom of 2,
I am.
Right?
Yeah.
You're a mom of 2. You have this very full-time director role.
Correct.
You are involved in many community things that you are passionate about. So knowing all of that, what does work-life integration mean for you? Like when you hear that phrase, what pops into your mind? Yeah,
I know we talked about the word balance, and I am also not a you know, fan of that word. I think when I think about work-life integration, it's coexisting and it's presence over balance. So how do you look at the things you want to do and make a meaningful presence? And it might not be 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. But it's being mindful of all of the things that align with your values that you want to be involved in, and just making yourself there for it. And it might not, like to me, those percentages are just so fluid, right? Like, it depends on so many factors. It depends on the season of life that people are in. It depends on the level of support, because sometimes my husband might be traveling, so I'm able to do less things on, you know, the work or community involvement side. So, you know, it really depends on a lot of factors, but it's just being mindful of what truly matters to you as a human individual and just building that presence in. And it doesn't have to be all at once. It can be a build-up, but just giving yourself the space to be able to have that presence.
So do you have things that like really help you? Do you have any habits or any routines that just kind of keep you in that flow, keep it, because you're getting a lot done. So are there things that you do that help with that?
I think where I can, right, because some things where like kids are sick, it's very hard to predict, but building things into a routine and like building things into a schedule. I'm going to spend X number of hours putting my course for UW Green Bay together, right? Or I'm going to block this time so I can do a Peloton ride, something like that. You know what I mean? Is just how do I mindfully build that in ahead of time? To give myself that space. And so I think it's just keeping in mind that, you know, one thing that I really want to just remind myself, no matter where I'm at or what I'm focused on, is like, it's a privilege to be in that space. Like, not everybody gets the opportunity to lay in bed with their kid and read them a book at night, right? Not everybody has that. Not everybody gets to show up to a job that they love and want to do and get to make a meaningful impact on the community. And not everybody has the means to be physically active. And so to me, that's a huge privilege. And it's not, oh my gosh, my rings aren't closed, I have to get on the Peloton. It's, I get to do that. Like, I get to, you know, give my kid a bath and read them a story at night. And so I'm not, when I'm in the moment, when I said presence over balance, it's, I'm fully present in what I'm doing at that moment and not thinking, okay, like, I wish this kid would go to sleep. I got some stuff to get done, you know, but it's, I get to be here. I'm going to be here when I'm here, and just reminding myself of those things. So having a strict schedule, like, doesn't always work with a lot of the fluid things that happen in life, right?
I feel like that's what I've learned a lot over the years, is that you just have to really be flexible, and you just have to roll with it. And what may be your priority at 8 in the morning can quickly change by 9:30 in the morning. Sure. And you don't get upset about it. You just kind of roll with it.
Right.
And you save yourself a lot of anxiety by having that attitude. And I love what you're saying about presence, because I think it's Kristen Hadid that says, if you're going to be there, be there.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Like, if that's where you are in that moment, like, be there in that moment.
Right.
And you owe the people, you know, in that moment, you owe them that.
For sure.
Just be present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So you're doing a lot of things, and you know it's not just for moms, but you know, we feel guilty sometimes, right? We feel guilty, like, I'm doing all these things. Am I giving enough time to my workplace? Am I giving enough time to my kids? Do you deal with that at all? And then if you do, what do you? How do you manage that?
You can't escape guilt, right? Like, I feel like social media is so loud. For moms, but for a lot of people, right? There's like body standards. There's, are you giving your kids whole organic foods with no dyes? And all, it's just, there's so much stuff that is very loud and very overwhelming that if you were to focus on all of that, you would just eat yourself alive with the guilt of, I'm not doing all of these things. I'm not checking all of these boxes. So for me, it's turning down the volume on it and taking space where I need it, right? So I'll take social media breaks, right? Or after a certain time, like, I try to stay off social media when my kids get home at the end of the day, right? And just, like we said, be present, but not compare myself. And I think that's really important for everybody who, when we talk about how do you do all of these things, but it looks different for everybody, right? Like, my priorities and what's important to me isn't important to the next person. But it's how do you get through this list of yours and not feel guilty about it, right? So, like I said, all of the kids are always my top priority. But if I want to go to the gym, like, I'm not going to feel bad because it's something that's helping me to take care of myself. But turning down that volume of guilt also comes with asking for help when you need it, right? And leaning on people that you know can support you, because you know, ultimately, like, I like being the person who can check things off my list, but I also know that I have a husband and I have family that can step in to say, hey, you know what, go take a break, right? And lean on people who are your support, or you know, reach out to people just even to like get things out in the open to say, you know what, I need to talk through this, I need advice, I need help, I need XYZ. But just making sure that you're focusing on the things that are priority for you, and that it looks different from other people, right? And you can't compare what's on social media to what you're doing, because it's real life, right?
Yeah. And I always watch all those meal prepping videos and with
yeah.
the perfect kitchen and the perfect containers, like, this is not what it looks like.
I know. I just recently watched one. Actually, my husband sent it to me on Instagram of this gal who said, this is what I'll make for my future kids. And it was these, like, extravagant fig bars. And it had an overlay of a mom like, oh, okay, are your patient kid's gonna wait an hour and a half to eat their fig bars that you cut in half wrong? Because it's just not reality.
Right,
so...
right.
Yeah, you got to take that unrealistic portion that people focus so much on in social media. Like, you can't measure life by the amount of, like, online interactions you get. You have to measure it by something that aligns with what you want to achieve and what equates to a fulfilling life for yourself. Because at the end of the day, right, like, social media goes away, technology goes away, what is going to fulfill you? And so it's focusing on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned this as far as support goes. So you said, you have family and you have your husband. Any other things that you do to, like, get support, know, in work and life?
I still have my group friend chat from my gals from high school, right? We stay in touch probably every day. I think just having an outlet of someone or a couple people that you trust to just have your voice heard. I think that's always important, is just having the opportunity to be heard of how you feel when you need it, right? Not every day I have to tell somebody, like, oh, I'm really frustrated. But, like, in those moments that feel really heavy that you can't get out of, having someone to reach out to is always a good idea. And I know, there are resources too that allow people to do that. Like, just different hotlines or wherever, if, there are places people can turn to when you really need that. But I think leaning into the support, again, you shouldn't feel guilty about that. I think that's what everybody needs, is to understand that we're not in all of this alone. We're all going through something, and, we're all trying to do something and accomplish something and be fulfilled. Nobody wants to be unfulfilled. And so, like, how do we find the people that are willing to just listen, right?
And I think important to find, too, the people that are kind of in that same stage of life as
For
you.
sure.
So, if you're the working mom, finding the working mom. If you are, running a company, find the other people that are running companies. Just finding those communities of people that you can connect with, that personal connection is just huge.
Right. And, it's people who align with the things that you're aligned with, too, right? And, you see people on social media, like, they're going out, they're traveling, and this is not the stage of life that I'm in, like, and it's not priority for me, right? And that's totally okay, and love that for the people who it is priority for. They should absolutely do that. But having people that are on this stage of life and prioritize the things, that I'm in the same boat with, it makes it a little easier. Yeah.
And we learn things from each other.
For sure.
That are in those same spaces.
For sure. Yeah.
So what do you think, like, where do you think we're headed? Like, if you had a crystal ball, and as time goes on, 5 years from now, what do you think work-life integration might look like for us?
Well, let me ask ChatGPT. I'm just kidding. No, I really do think technology is going to play a huge role in helping people find more, efficient ways to work or get things done. Not necessarily, like, you don't want to go too far and be over-reliant on things, but how do we look at what's coming down the road? How can we utilize technology and other innovations to our advancement and, make things a little easier on ourselves, right? So that we don't have to put so much pressure on ourselves. How can we take a little piece of the burden off? But I think it really behooves employers to look at what's starting to be more important to people. Like, pandemic changed everything, which we all know. Lots of people had to work remotely. But it turns out, like, that's a huge benefit, right, to people, especially people with, like, young kids and, who are dealing with a lot of extra things, to have that flexibility. And so, people, employers are finding ways to do both, like setting times to come in or, giving the option. But I think it's really going to be important to find ways of being flexible with people, because I don't think that's going away now that people have had the taste of working remotely. And you have to be present if you're doing it, right, and show up for that. And that's how you maintain your accountability, all that good stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to really be dependent on employers willing to be able to do that. So, everybody's values are sort of shifting to make sure that they do have that integration and presence. And so if we can find ways that work, that's really important.
It is interesting to think about, because even if we rewind the clock like 5 years and think about how, grocery pickup and delivery was not a thing yet, our huge reliance on Amazon really wasn't as much of a thing. I mean, you're right. The technology has brought us to a way of maybe doing some things differently. That does make life easier. For sure. And does help to kind of fit it all in. Right. So it will be interesting like 5 years from now to see what has transpired.
It does also present new challenges, which we will address, as time goes on and we see what happens with it all. But it's really interesting to see how technology improves things. And, even in our healthcare system, we work on the administrative side, but there's lots of clinical people. But at our system, we're exploring virtual nursing. So it gives individuals like clinical teams the ability to be in a remote setting, but also provide the bedside healthcare. So it's not, a one-side thing. It's a universal thing of how are we taking care of the workforce who really needs this support and this ability and, the flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, anything else we didn't get to talk about today? Anything else that you wanted to add, wanted to say?
I think the one thing that, I wrote down because it's very important to acknowledge that life being full, it doesn't mean that you're failing as a person. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm failing. Life is full because life is full. Like, we're humans and there's something happening every minute of every day. And I think being present in the moment isn't about being perfect in the moment. You talk about the social media standards. Like, I will never be the 100% perfect granola mom. And just sometimes my kid will only eat mac and cheese, and that's okay. They're eating food, right? It's showing up and, recognizing the privilege of being able to be here at all, right? Yeah. Like, you just think about all of the things that happen, across the country, across the world, of like, people don't get to put their kids to bed. They might have at one point, but they don't get to anymore. And how lucky am I to be able to go home and hug my kids and put them to bed and be in that moment with them, right? And how lucky am I that my body works and lets me be active, and how lucky am I that I'm sitting here with you, right? Like, it's everything is very much a privilege to be able to do. And so when you think about those things that are important to you, like, I'm very much a list person. Like, I would list them out and be like, yep, I still want to do that. Is that in alignment? Maybe let that go a little bit, But, figuring out what it is that is you want to keep doing, or what's okay to let go. And again, that can change from season to season. We talked just earlier that last week my daughter had an ear infection. This week my son had strep. So maybe I'm not closing my Apple Watch rings every day this week, and that's totally okay because, the rings of priority take a different shape this week. But it's just figuring out where I want to be and when, and then being there when I am. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley, so helpful.
Thank
Great,
you. I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, great content. A lot of great things for all of us to really think about and consider. And I just think some really good reminders. Yeah. So thanks for taking the time to be here today between all of the things.
Yeah. Happy to.
So precious to have you here. So
thank you, Linda. I appreciate it.
So thanks to you, our audience, for tuning in today. Please like, subscribe, share this podcast. Our podcast is sponsored in part by the Bellin Health Foundation. So if you want more information on them, please go to Bellin Foundation, bellinhealthfoundation.org. Correct?
Yeah, I think it's bellin.org/donate, and it'll lead you right to us.
Yeah. Perfect. And you can see all the great things going on there.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, everyone. Please like, subscribe, share this podcast, and we'll see you next time.